So let's do the chanting straight away before our meditations and the Dharma talk. Nice and mindful, aware, calm mind, clear mind. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Dudayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dudayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dudayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Tadayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tadayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Tadayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. And may they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gate gate parasamgate buddhi soha. Tayata gate parasamgate buddhi soha. Tayata gate parasamgate buddhi soha. So now let's do a spot of meditation. Initially, let's calm the tension within the body. So bring your mind inside your body, and from the bottom to the top, calm whatever tension you may have in the body. From the tips of the toes up to the shoulders, down to the ends of your fingers, and to the top of your head. And when you have completed this, don't rush, but when you have completed this, place your mind onto your breathing, onto your breath. Starting, of course, at the tip of your nose as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out of your nose again. Breathing in, breathing out. That's all we need to do right now. Past is gone, future's not here. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, let it go naturally by replacing your mind back onto your breath. Don't try to cling to it or grasp at it, or even try to forcefully push it away, or deny it. Just let it go naturally by replacing the mind onto the breath. And likewise, if your mind becomes dull and sleepy during this short session, wake it up a little bit by refocusing your mind or replacing your mind back onto your breath. So let's practice like this for a few moments in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this short meditation practice. And fill yourself with universal loving kindness, friendliness, non-violence, honesty, appreciation, respect, acceptance. With so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your family and friends. Along with yourself, may they be happy and engage in the causes of happiness. And may they be free from suffering and free from engaging in the causes of suffering. May they be peaceful, engaging in the causes of peace. And now also include those you may regard as strangers, maybe know a little bit or not at all. May they also be happy and engage in the causes of happiness, be free from suffering and engage, or free from engaging in the causes of suffering. And may they be peaceful and engage in the causes of peacefulness. Now, further and further radiating this loving kindness to also include those you may regard as enemies or find irritating or difficult. May all of these people have happiness and its causes, be free from suffering and its causes, and be peaceful. Gradually radiating out further and further like a tidal wave of loving kindness to now include all of those beings around your area, whether they live on the land, fly through the air, live in the waters, whether they were born from wombs, from moisture, from eggs, through transformation. Slowly further and further radiating this loving kindness to now include all of those living beings within your state or county. And other states and counties throughout the whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. May all sentient beings be happy. May they live in safety and joy. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy. Let no one despise any being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred wish harm upon another, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life. Likewise, radiate loving kindness to all living beings throughout all of the world. And now throughout the whole solar system. And the whole galaxy. And the whole universe. Radiate your loving kindness throughout infinite space. This immeasurable, infinite loving kindness. And at the same time, be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So I hope you're feeling really nice today now. And we will continue our discussion on the perfection of wisdom, the prajna paramita. If you hear in the background any dogs barking, I apologize for this. You can say fortunately for some and unfortunate for others. It's actually a long weekend this weekend, and the people that have a holiday home to our left, they're actually very inconsiderate a lot of the time. And so they have 3 dogs sometimes that they bring here and just leave them there and they bark all the time. So hopefully you can't hear it. If you can hear it, just put up with it. Patience. You know, we spoke about the parameter of patience. And so, you know, even these irritating people around us, we need to extend this love and kindness. First of all, patience, and then love and kindness to them, wishing that they can change their ways and so forth. Okay. At least we don't have murderers next to us, which is a good thing. And excuse my dry humor. But anyway, so the perfection of wisdom, we started talking, giving commentary, as I did last week, on the Paticcasamuppada, or the 12 links of dependent origination. So we've already done that. If you want to review that, then have a look at last week's video on the YouTube channel, probably the easiest way. And also begun giving some commentary. Actually, it's more like an overview. It's, like I said, commentary, there's much more in depth into the meaning behind these words. Okay, so it's kind of an overview of the Heart Sutra, or in full, the Perfection of Wisdom Heart Scripture, the Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. Hridaya means the center or the heart of. And prajna means wisdom, paramita means beyond, the perfection of, and maha means great, of course. So a limitless teaching, a teaching leading to the enlightened mind. Of course, the enlightened mind, what we call Buddha nature, is empty of any characteristic, any substance, but also full of enlightened qualities, such as compassion, loving kindness, and so forth, okay? So full and empty, we say, but actually it's beyond that, beyond the opposites, this concept of opposites, this duality, or dualistic way of thinking of empty and full, okay? So just always remind yourself of that and try not to fall into one of the 2 extremes there of the eternalistic view or the nihilistic view. Because you can have the extreme of emptiness, isn't it? Not the real emptiness now that we're talking about, but actually the emptiness that we think it's the opposite of fullness. And then, of course, then we can have this attachment to eternalism, you know, this fullness, we are everything type of beliefs, all right? So I will chant it once again really quickly, the Heart Sutra in English, and then we will go on to speak about the rest of the sutra today. I think we should be able to finish that. Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra, the heart of the perfection of wisdom scripture. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, when brothers in deeply in Prajna Paramita perceive that all 5 skandhas are empty, thus transcending suffering and distress. Sariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness is no other than form, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness is exactly form. Feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness are likewise like this. Sariputra, all dharmas are fundamentally emptiness, no birth, no death, nothing is pure. Nothing is defiled, nothing increases or decreases, hence in emptiness there are no forms, no feelings, no thoughts, no impulses, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no touching, no thinking, no realm of vision, up to and including no realm of thought. No ignorance and no end of ignorance, up to and including no old age and death, and no end to old age and death, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path. No wisdom, no attainment, indeed there is nothing to be attained. The Bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. Far beyond elusive thinking, they finally awaken to complete nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future depend on Prajna Paramita. And attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, therefore know that the Prajna Paramita Dharani is the highest Dharani, the brightest Dharani, the peerless Dharani. The Supreme Dharani, which completely ends all suffering, know this is truth and do not doubt, so proclaim the Prajaparamita Dharani, proclaim this Dharani and declare. Tayadam gade gade paragade parasam gade bodhisoha. So last week we spoke about the first part, Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, realizing the Prajnaparamita, realizing the perfection of wisdom, by realizing that the 5 skandhas of form, feeling, thoughts, impulses, and consciousness are empty of self-nature, empty of independent self-nature, okay, or self, if you would want to put it in a really short way. And then he realized that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. So once again, not the opposites. So this form that we have, this physical being that we are, is empty. I mentioned this last week, and during the commentary almost a year ago now on the 5 skandhas, so you can revisit those videos for more details. Then of course, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. You know, I'll just make a note here that I was asked probably about 2 or 3 years ago by a lovely nun from Taiwan. She says, what is your take on emptiness and Buddha nature? And I just said simply, before we had a long discussion, this was in, I think, Kuala Lumpur airport. And anyway, I said, well, actually, how can emptiness be anything other than the Buddha nature? How can the Buddha nature be anything other than emptiness? So that's kind of another way to look at that, okay, that formula. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. We're not talking about normal form in this instance. So anyway, so feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness are likewise like this. Sariputra, all dharmas, in other words, all phenomena, but this idea of self, this idea of other, all phenomena are fundamentally emptiness. No birth, no death, nothing is pure, nothing is defiled. And I mentioned last week that this relates to the 3 doors to enlightenment: emptiness, signlessness, and wishlessness. So go back to last week's class to review that. And also these 8 together, if you include like the first part of that, says that Sariputra, the Buddhist student Sariputra, that all phenomena are fundamentally emptiness. Okay, so that means all phenomena, self phenomena inside yourself, you know, everything you relate to yourself, as well as this concept of the self of other. These 2 obscurations, they're all empty of independent nature. These can also be known as the 8 profundities. Okay, so if you want to look that up, you can Google it, or you look it up in your encyclopedias or Buddhist dictionaries. Google, though Google, be careful with Google, because all of the information, not all of it is actually really accurate. And some of it's actually quite abstract with not much clear details. But you can still do it, you know, with good effort and good investigative skills. Almost like a detective, you know, and good analyzing skills, you can work it out what is real, what is not, for yourself, and ask me questions, and ask other teachers if you have the opportunity to questions to clarify any doubts or uncertainties. Okay, so now we'll go on from that. Then the Buddha said that increase or decreases. Hence, in emptiness, there are no forms, no feelings, no thoughts, no impulses, no consciousness. So once again, reiterating that the 5 skandhas are all, including the individual constituents within, and the whole are empty, empty of self-nature, okay? And so that's reiterating those 5 skandhas. And now the Buddha goes on to say, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. These are the 6 sense doors. No seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no touching, no thinking. And they're the sense objects known together as the 12 ayutanas. So these sense, the sense doors, in other words, our eyes, our ears, and so forth, and then those things that we are seeing and hearing and so forth, coming together. Then the Buddha says, no realm of vision up to and including no realm of thought. Now this is paraphrasing, okay? This is the 6 consciousnesses, okay? So from the first one, calling the consciousness the conscious realm of vision. And this comes from when the eye and the ear the eye and the seeing, or the object being seen, contact together. There's this contact and conscious moment. Okay, and it's likewise with the other senses. And then, so the Buddha doesn't mention the ear consciousness and the smelling consciousness and so forth. He just goes straight to the mind consciousness. So no realm of thought. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no touching, no thinking, no realm of vision, up to and including no realm of thought. This means that the 18 dhatus, 18 realms, are also empty of self-nature. And so all of these really important teachings that the Buddha gave us, he's actually saying that all of them are actually emptiness, okay, in their ultimate state. And so, in other words, it's an interesting way to put it. And some people maybe don't like to hear this if they attach to the Buddha's teachings, but the Buddha is also saying in these types of teachings that his teachings are also empty. But why are they empty? Because of the Buddha nature teachings, because of the emptiness teachings. These are words. The Buddha spoke words explaining methods of training, methods on meditation practice and so forth, and concepts and so forth that we need to understand the meaning behind the words, but then even go beyond this conceptual understanding of the meaning to really understand the ultimate nature. Okay, so then we move on from that. So it says no realm of thought, up to including the realm of thought, no ignorance and no end of ignorance, up to and including no old age and death, and no end to old age and death. Now this is mentioning the 12 links of dependent origination, which start from ignorance and then finish up with old age and death, you could say, and then the whole great mass of suffering. And then, of course, the undoing of that, the ceasing of the ignorance, and therefore all suffering ceases. And so that's what, once again, paraphrasing in the nature or in the spirit of this teaching, this compressed teaching, wisdom teaching, then the Buddha is actually not mentioning all of those 12 in order and then saying about the ceasing of them. So he's just mentioning the first one. So there is no ignorance and there's no end of ignorance. Because if there is no ignorance, how could there be end of ignorance? Dualistic thinking again. And then no old age and death and no end to old age and death. If there's no old age and death, how can there be an end to it? Okay, so once again, I'll just reiterate that. There's dependent on ignorance, karmic formations, dependent on karmic formations, it's consciousness, dependent on consciousness is name and form, dependent on name and form are the 6 sense bases, dependent on the 6 sense bases is contact, dependent on contact is feeling, dependent on feeling is desire, dependent on desire is clinging, dependent on clinging is becoming, dependent on becoming is birth, dependent on birth is old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, despair, and a whole great mass of suffering. But with the ceasing of this ignorance, all karmic formations cease. With the ceasing of karmic formations, consciousness ceases. With the ceasing of consciousness, name and form cease. With the ceasing of name and form, the 6 sense bases cease. With the ceasing of the 6 sense bases, contact ceases. With the ceasing of contact, feeling ceases. With the ceasing of feeling, desire ceases. With the ceasing of desire, clinging ceases. With the ceasing of clinging, becoming ceases. With the ceasing of becoming, birth ceases. With the ceasing of birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, despair, and a whole great mass of suffering come to cease. Therefore, with the ceasing of this ignorance, with the total uprooting of this ignorance, there is no suffering. All suffering ceases. There is enlightenment, beyond enlightenment. Okay, so I remember teaching, the last time I taught, gave commentary on the Heart Sutra, we utilized a book by Master Shinyan, great Taiwanese master. And the name of the book was There Is No Suffering. So if you start to look at this book and go, oh, no this, no that, no me, no, and you start to think, oh, I don't know if I'd like that. Think about there is no suffering. And then I think you'll start to like it. You know, I've also attended a teaching by Master Sogyal Rinpoche, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, Tibetan master, and he actually called this the No Sutra. So, you know, just giving it a nickname. No this, no that, no that, no the other, you know, but actually really no suffering. That's what we're talking about. No ignorance as well. Therefore, no suffering. Okay, so we move on from that. No suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path. That's talking about the Four Noble Truths. So they also are empty of self-nature. No suffering, the first noble truth. No cause, the second noble truth. No cessation, the third noble truth. No path, the fourth noble truth of the Noble Eightfold Path. Then the Buddha even paraphrases even more. And he says, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path, no wisdom. That's talking about the 6 paramitas. So he only mentioned the wisdom. But actually, we're talking about what we've been talking about the last 6 months or so, and that is the generosity, perfection of generosity, perfection of morality, perfection of patience, perfection of effort, perfection of concentration, and perfection of wisdom. And of course, it is the perfection of wisdom that allows the others to be perfect. That's why wisdom is mentioned. Then there is no attainment, for there is nothing to be attained. And what he means by that is, I'll paraphrase my quote again, and that is, there is enlightenment, but no enlightenment is there. The Buddha nature is already here with us. We don't have to go to get it. We don't have to go and attain it, even though we do use these words and these phrases to explain the way to get there or the way to realize it. Actually, it's already there. There is no attainment, and there's nothing to be attained. Okay, because the Buddha nature also is empty of any characteristics or something as such. Okay, then the Bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita with no hindrance in the mind. No hindrance, therefore no fear. So the Bodhisattva practicing on the way to enlightenment depends on this prajna paramita. Perfection, this perfection of wisdom, and even traversing through the other perfections, even if it's only still a conceptual idea of this perfection of wisdom, utilizes it to help to perfect the other qualities, and then traverse through what we call the bhumis, or the 10 levels to enlightenment of a Buddha. Okay, and we won't go into the details of that right now. And so the Bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. The hindrance, we talk about 2. We could also know them as obscurations. The 2 obscurations, I mentioned them earlier, of the belief in the self and the belief in other. Of course, there are many other hindrances and many other obscurations as well, but they all come from this. The belief in the self gives rise to the concept of other, the opposite. Okay. This comes from ignorance. Remember before I've done like this, if you look at my fingers, there's the ignorance there. Springing from that is dualistic thinking, the dualistic thinking of self and other, or attachment and aversion, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then when there are no hindrances, when there is no attachment to self, when there's no attachment or even aversion from other, then we give up hopes and fears. Like I mentioned in the commentary on the 5 skandhas last year. So with no hope, no fears, no hindrances, no hopes, free from fear of getting or not getting, fear from hope of getting or not getting. Go back again to the 3 doors of enlightenment, or to enlightenment. The second one of those is signlessness. The third one is wishlessness, giving up even this wish for something eventually. Right now we have to utilize it, okay, because we do have a dualistic way of thinking. So anyway, Bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. Far beyond delusive thinking, they finally awaken to complete nirvana. So eventually traversing through this Bodhisattva path, or along the Bodhisattva path to full enlightenment of a Buddha, they are giving up this delusive, these delusions, this dualistic way of thinking, this conceptual way of thinking, going beyond that, and eventually attain enlightenment. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future depend on prajna paramita and attain anuttara samyak sambodhi, or unsurpassed supreme enlightenment. Okay, so the Buddhas, all Buddhas of the past, whether this be so long ago, we can't even think about how long ago, whether this be just the previous Buddha from Sakyamuni Buddha now, the present Buddha, Sakyamuni, the future Buddha, Maitreya, or other Buddhas in the future, all of them must perfect this perfection of wisdom, must perfect this paramita, and other paramitas as well along the way. Of course, some people may look at it and go, oh, actually, if we already have Buddha nature, if we already have enlightenment, then we just have to uncover it. But yes, that's correct. But practicing the Dharma is a way of uncovering it. It's like if you have a diamond sort of buried in dirt, you know, you're digging up the dirt to find that diamond, in a sense. So you're uncovering it. And the way to do that is to practice the Eightfold Path, develop the four immeasurables, to practice these paramitas, develop these paramitas, especially the perfection of wisdom. Then, therefore know that the Prajna Paramita Dharani is the highest Dharani, the brightest Dharani, the peerless Dharani, the supreme Dharani. So I've mentioned Dharani is another word for mantra. Mantra means mind protection, but also mantras can hold the whole of the essence of the teachings. So in this sense, Tayatom Gatagata Paragata Parasangate Bodhisoha contains the essence of the Heart Sutra, which contains the heart or the essence of the longer and the more detailed perfection of wisdom scriptures as well. Okay, I know we've only got about a minute and 20 seconds to go. So I won't go into explaining those. We'll leave that there as it is. So, but know that this teaching with giving up this ignorance by developing this perfection of wisdom, realizing this perfection of wisdom, then all suffering ceases, okay? And eventually you will attain supreme enlightenment. It's your true nature already. Okay, so even if you get disheartened sometimes in the practice, don't worry, keep going. Give yourself confidence by realizing what I just mentioned. Okay, reminding yourself over and over and over again. And you can get off your butt and practice properly, okay? So study well, not too much, not too little. And practice well, not too much, not too little. Share the Dharma well, not too much, not too little, not too tight, not too loose. And we'll continue our discussion next week. I won't go into detail because I've already mentioned that to you, just the next week or two. And then we move on to Q&A times, okay? Questions and answers. I rejoice in your goodness, as always. Be compassionate. Be wise.